Hey, okay, I'm live. It's my first live by myself. I'm a little nervous. I tend to be, sometimes my brain is disconnected from my mouth, so things don't always come out how I mean them to be. So please forgive me if sometimes it comes out jumbled. Oh, wow. I'm so glad to have you guys join. This is fun. Okay, I set my timer because it's early out for kindergarten today, and so I've got 40 minutes to do this live. I thought I would give you a little bit of background on how I coach myself. Much like Dave Ramsey gave me the baby steps, a guideline for what to do with my money when I had no guideline. One day I randomly came across a little video that said how to feel better. And it happened to be a day that I was having a really bad day. And so I clicked on it because I was like, what can I learn from this person that says how to feel better? And her name was Brooke Castillo, and she runs the Life Coach School. And in the video, she presented what she called paused. Okay, there we go. She presented what's called the model, and my kids call it the CTFAR model, but it's really CTFAR, okay? And I'm going to explain what I learned from the Life Coach School about this model. And the model is basically how you can assess your life, assess your circumstances, assess how you want to show up in your life, and how you can coach yourself. We're not taught this stuff in school. Just like money, we're not taught. And most of us were raised by parents that were human beings just trying to do their best. And so I'm going to show you what I learned on that self-coaching model. I hope you can see that. Maybe you can screenshot this if you want. See, this is CTFAR. My kids call it CFART, but maybe that'll help you remember. Okay, circumstances, thoughts, feelings, actions, and results, okay? Now, I remember when I first watched this video, I thought, I wonder if that's true. Like, I wonder if this model is really, could be applicable to me. So I took a couple of months just digesting what she was saying before I really believed it. So I'm not telling you to believe it. I'm just saying this is how I coach myself. This is how I deal with my life. Okay? All right. So this is the self-coaching model. Circumstances right here, and this was the part that I had a really hard time fully accepting. Circumstances are basically just the facts of your life. So I'm 5'6". That's not debatable, right? I have 4 boys. I have, X amount of dollars in my bank account. So the circumstances are facts that everybody agrees on. But here's what was key for me. She said circumstances are neutral, and they're neither good nor bad. And that was the thing that I had a hard time really fully accepting, was like, no, when I looked at my bank account, I thought for sure it was bad or not enough, right? Or if I didn't like my hair, was not good enough, right? So she said circumstances are neutral. They're not good nor bad. The reason why she says it's that way is because another person can have the exact same circumstance and think completely different, right? So she said, they're the facts of your life. The circumstances are the facts of your life, and they are neutral, okay? And people outside of yourself other people, your husband, your mother-in-law, your children, they are outside of you, and they are also circumstances. They're neutral to you, okay? Which was eye-opening. I'm like, you mean my husband doing this is not either good or bad? Whoa. That was just like a light bulb to me. So it gave me a different way of looking at my life, okay? Circumstances only become good or bad when we have a thought about it, okay? So circumstances are neutral, neither good nor bad. They're just the facts, okay? That was key for me. And then all of a sudden, I might have a thought about something my husband does, something my children do. And that's when I make it mean something, either good or bad or negative. So let's say the circumstance, I'm going to give you an example. The circumstance is your bank account has $654 in it, okay? Now, immediately, I have a thought about that, okay? But really, it's neutral. It's just the number in your account, right? Okay? So I might have a thought. Now let me explain. Thoughts are a sentence that is in your head. And that sentence, you say, okay, my bank account has $654 in it. And I can either have the perspective of, wow, that's incredible. I have so much money. I can go out to dinner. I can put gas in my car. I can buy a new sweater, right? Or I can make that circumstance have a different sentence, like, it's not enough. How will I feed my family? How will I make it until the next paycheck with only $654? Do you see how that is different? You can have a thought one way about the circumstance or a thought completely different about the exact same neutral circumstance. So that's a good example. Did you know that most people have about 60,000 thoughts that go through their head every day? And most of the time, our brains are really like unsupervised children going kind of crazy. And our brains are designed to keep us safe and to keep us, so we are in fight or flight mode. And they're doing their job, and we have all these thoughts in our head, and they don't always serve us very well. I would like to say most human beings have unsupervised minds. They let their thoughts go crazy, and their thoughts create all these feelings inside of them, and then because of that, we get into a lot of trouble. All right, so listen to this. Nothing that happens in your life is either amazing or horrible. Nothing that happens in the circumstance line is either amazing or horrible until we have a thought about it, okay? Now, if you're not used to observing your thoughts, you can think that it's your circumstances that are determining everything in your life, which is what I did for so long. It was always other things outside of myself that created my happiness or my misery. And it was when I realized that it was my thought about my circumstances that created, that was either amazing or horrible, that I made it mean something about my life. Okay. I hope that makes sense. If you have questions, I'll try to answer them. But let me move on to the next thing. So our circumstances are neutral, but we will have a thought about the circumstance, and that thought will create a feeling in us. Okay? And our feelings are just vibrations in our body. And it's really important to begin to notice where you feel your feelings. So much of the time, we don't even know. We are not taught to recognize what our feelings feel like in our bodies. When you feel scared, when you feel fear, what does that feel like inside of you? Well, for me, I get the feeling in my stomach, like just this kind of achy, empty feeling. Or if I feel intense, like intense excitement, I might have a feeling in my shoulders where my shoulders might tense up. It's really strange. As I've begun to watch how feelings express themselves in my body, I can say, oh, what does that feel like to feel happy? What does it feel like to feel despair or regret? Because they each kind of have a distinct vibration in your body. Okay? So let's go back to our example of the neutral circumstance of my bank account has $654 in it. Okay? So I've either chosen to have that's incredible thought. I have tons of money, which probably, I don't know, maybe my 16-year-old would think $654 is a lot. Or, my 43-year-old would say, $654 won't go anywhere with a family of 6, right? So I can have either thought, and then I will have a feeling. So what's my 16-year-old going to feel thinking the thought that he has a ton of money in his account? Well, he's going to think, happy. I am super happy that I have all this money and this freedom in my life. He might feel peaceful. He might feel secure. What is my 43-year-old self going to feel if I have the thought, that's not enough money? How am I going to feed my family? I can't do anything with $654. Well, I'll tell you, because I functioned a lot of my life through this. And it was fear, scarcity. I would feel uncertain, and I would feel shame that something was wrong with me, that I only had $654. Those were the feelings that I would have inside of me. And it came from my thoughts that were, it's not enough. And how will I make this work? And I can't do anything with that amount of money. I hope that makes sense. So once you have these feelings in your body, so much of the time, we are not taught to just feel our feelings because they make us uncomfortable if they're not feelings we like. And that's why we seek happy feelings so much, and most people confuse thoughts with feelings, but they are distinct and they are separate. They are not the same. You have to start learning what you are thinking. Most of the time, I can recognize what I'm feeling much quicker than recognizing what I'm thinking. So I frequently have to walk myself backwards. I'll say, oh wow, I'm feeling super stressed, and I will have to pause and look at this paper, and I will fill it in. I will say, okay, I'm feeling really stressed right now. Then I will have to sit and I will have to think, okay, what are my thoughts? What am I thinking? And usually I can go from there, but most of the time I'm pretty attuned to how I'm feeling. I'm not always attuned to my thoughts, and it took me a really long time to see how the thoughts and circumstances were connected. Okay, so, and one other thing about feelings are our brains don't like to feel pain. So frequently we do things to avoid the pain. We might eat, we might go shopping to spend money, we might do drugs, we might smoke a cigarette, we might mindlessly scroll on Instagram because we feel bored or we feel scared or we feel worried. We do these things to avoid how we feel. And I see that in myself. I do that all the time. I don't like sitting with myself when I'm bored, and I will pull out my phone and flip through Instagram instead of just feeling the feeling, like allowing myself to feel what it feels like to be bored and to sit with that feeling. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense at all, but ask a question if you have any questions. I know I'm trying to get through this. But in order to start feeling better about our lives, it's really important to begin to distinguish between your thoughts and feelings. Okay? You can't remember the last time you felt bored? Oh, you must have a very full life. Okay. Understanding that your thoughts cause your feelings is how you learn to feel better without changing your circumstance. Nothing in your life has to change in order for you to feel better. Nothing. Your house, your bank account, your husband, your mother-in-law, your weight, your children, none of it. Because those things are all neutral. Nothing has to change. You can feel better about where you are in your life today, exactly how you are. And the way you do that is based upon how you think. Because it's your feelings that are influencing everything, and it's how you're thinking. Okay. Next thing. So let's go back. Circumstances are neutral. You have a thought about it, your bank account, okay? And your thought can either create a feeling of excitement or happiness or fear or worry. And then what do you do when you have that feeling? Because we are designed, we want to take action. We want to solve that problem or avoid that problem or do something when we have a feeling. How do you recognize your thoughts? Oh, that is so powerful. Thanks, Rebecca, for asking that. I think it takes time. I think it takes a lot of practice. For me, it's been a lot of practice working this model. Well, first I had to come to believe that this model was really how I would begin to feel better. So it took me a while to believe that circumstances were neutral. And it took me a while to really fully accept this model and apply it to my life. So I would say this has been a two-year process, and I'm now just beginning to really easily recognize my thoughts. But usually it's when I am in a place of I'm really attuned to my feelings, and so when I will have a feeling, and usually it's something's distressful to me, that's when I will have to sit down and I will have to walk it backwards. But sometimes I can recognize I'll have a thought immediately, like, I'll give you a good example. 3 Saturdays ago, I was at Walmart and I was feeling super overwhelmed and tired and exhausted. My husband had been gone a lot. And while I was shopping, there was like a scenario playing in my mind. And it was all these thoughts about how I do too much. I do everything for my family. They don't appreciate me. I am too tired of doing all my grocery shopping on Saturdays. I need a break. And all these things were happening in my head while I was pushing my grocery cart. And by the time I checked out and I was driving home, can I tell you how I felt towards my husband and my children when I walked in the door? Can you guess? Can you guess how I showed up? Yeah. Super happy mom. Pretty resentful, angry. And you know what's funny about men? I'm not sure if it's women too, because I don't have a family life with little girls, but my boys and my husband are really attuned to how mom feels, how wife feels, and they sense it. And I walked in the door and I didn't even say anything. And they're like, are you okay? And you know what was funny? I actually walked around the corner and they had cleaned the kitchen and my husband had bought me flowers. And immediately my thoughts changed. And I was like, I am loved. Nothing in the circumstance had changed. I made those flowers and that clean kitchen mean something. I made it mean that they loved me. And before, 10 seconds ago, at Walmart, I was making it mean that I was put upon. Does that make sense? Okay, so I think recognizing your thoughts it's super hard to do because we are not taught how to do it. It's emotional adulthood, it's mental health, and we are not at all taught in how to recognize it. So it takes practice. It takes practice sitting down and working this model to begin to recognize the thoughts that you think on a regular basis. And you know what's kind of sad? When I began to really do this, I recognized how much junk was in my head. How much negativity, how much fear, how much worry, how much shame. Oh my goodness, the shame. The thoughts that I had they were so distressing. And no wonder I lived a place from fear and isolation and resentment, because I had terrible thoughts going through my head all the time. Okay, let's move on. Oh, sorry, let me say one more thing about thoughts. We don't want to feel happy 100% of the time because life is 50-50. Life is not meant to be happy 100% of the time. But we think it should be. We think that we should feel happy all of the time. And I think once you start to accept that life is 50-50, you allow yourself a sense of peace that you can feel sad when somebody dies that you thought died too early. You can feel sad when somebody a loved one in your life makes a decision to do drugs. You know, life is just not meant, there's opposition in all things. And thinking that life should be happy 100% of the time, it's just going to cause so much more heartache and pain. And accepting that life is 50-50 allows you to feel the whole range of emotions that life offers. Okay? And but the thing is, you are free to choose how you want to feel. Okay? Here. Embrace it. It's the hard that makes it great. You're so right. Yes. So when you say, like, I remember first learning about circumstances being neutral, and they would say, so you mean like I have to accept that my husband had an affair, or I have to accept that my child died at age 5? And what this lady said was like, you don't have to feel anything you don't want to feel. You get to choose how you want to feel, but make it your choice. it's still neutral, even death, because somebody could look at the same exact thing. Like, I remember when my mom died, I remember driving home and looking around at other people that were walking on the street laughing. My mother's death did not affect them, okay? It did not affect my neighbor, but it affected me, and it hurt, like, I felt the pain, right? So my mother's death was neutral. It was a circumstance. She died. Her physical body died, okay? And then it was the thoughts that I had about that created my feelings, okay? Hope that makes sense. All right, let's move on to actions, okay? Okay, bye, Rebecca. Thanks for coming in. Have fun at work. All right, so then we have our feelings about it, and our feelings, we like to act. We like to act. We feel like we need to resolve how our feelings are. So our actions, they can be either what you do, what you don't do, like an action you take because of your feeling, or an inaction. You might be frozen in fear. Let's take the example of the bank account, 654, okay? So we have a feeling that's not enough, or a thought, that's not enough money to get me through to feed my family. And then we have a feeling, and our feeling is fear and despair, and sometimes we might go spend more money. We might go put stuff on a credit card because we fear that we don't have enough money. Or we may do nothing. So this is what I do. I become Nazi budget Nazi, and I tell my family, we can't spend any money, we can't do anything fun, we have to hold our breath until the next paycheck, and I become anal. And my actions are to hunker down, not spend any money, and live from a place of fear. So those are typically my actions. But some people, if you feel like you have enough money, you might go spend the money. You might go budget. You might plan your purchases and be really excited. If my 16-year-old has $654 in his account and he feels excited about that because he thinks that's a lot of money, then he will go out to eat with his friends, and he might buy that jacket that he wants. Or if you feel the fear, your action might be that you call your husband in a panic, which is what I usually do, right? We don't have enough money. Or you might yell at your children when you're in the store and they want a toy. And in your head, you're going through all these things of, we don't have enough money. We don't have enough to get through. It's all because of what you made that $654 mean. And then for me, I would yell at the kids and say, it's not in the budget, we don't have the money, I can't buy you that toy. Or you might numb out and compulsively shop. You will do some sort of action to deal with your feelings, okay? Your actions, inactions, reactions, all of that, they're always based upon your feelings. Okay? So if you're not taking action on something in your life, if you're avoiding something in your life, you might want to ask yourself, what's the feeling you're feeling? What is it that you're feeling? And then work it backwards and see what you're thinking. All right. See what's driving that feeling. Okay. And then our actions influence our results. Okay, so we may save that money, blow the money. We may spend intentionally. We may make the most out of that money, or we may do nothing with that money. Because we are fearful. We may have distance in our relationship with our spouse because of that. So our results, they are the consequences. They are the outcomes of our actions or inactions or reactions, okay? And the problem is that Most people, when they coach themselves, they are only focused on the action that they take. And they're only focused on these two things, actions and results. I need to change my money habits. I need to get better with my money. So what do I need to do? Well, I need to do a budget. And then if I do a budget, I will have the results I need to have. But then they miss all of these things leading up to the action and the results. And I'm telling you, it all starts here with the circumstance. All right, I'm gonna share. So now that here's another one, the CTFAR model. Circumstances can trigger our thoughts cause our feelings cause our actions, and our actions cause our results. And oftentimes our results can go up in a thought loop, and we will say, oh, see, I can't save money. See, I'm terrible. See, it's proof why I'll never be good at this. Does that make sense? All right, so that's what I use to coach myself. Now, I do this multiple times per week. And I said this week I ran into 16-year-old Sarah and 30-year-old Sarah. And I will share in the next 10 minutes what I did. So I grew up overweight, and I would say fat, and I would say that I bloomed later on in life. Okay, so I didn't go to high school dances. I didn't get asked out a lot on dates, and my friend this week sent me a picture of her daughter getting asked out to prom. Okay, and which is so exciting, right? And it's my friend, and I love her, and I love her daughter. But do you know what happened in this model? So the circumstance was my friend sent me a picture of her daughter getting asked to prom. Okay, that's neutral, totally neutral. The picture of a friend her daughter getting asked to prom. Okay, I had a thought about it. Okay, and I didn't recognize my thought about it, but about 2 hours later, I was in my house feeling awful and angry and snippy with my husband and snippy with my kids. Okay, so I did a model, and I did what's called a thought download. I grabbed a piece of paper. I'll show you what here's a book. So I do a thought download, and I will sit down and I will write on a piece of paper all the thoughts that I have in my head. And I will just start writing. Okay, so here's some of the thoughts that I wrote. It's not fair that I didn't get asked out to dances in high school. 16-year-old Sarah was just as valuable because she was a human being. The high school Sarah felt excluded and so alone. I let high school define my value, and I feel sad about that. Why didn't the boys in high school notice me? Okay, so all these thoughts were about they were my thoughts from 16 years old, right? But they were triggered by a very neutral circumstance. Okay, sorry. So once I went through all of my thoughts in my head, then I pull out this model. I get a piece of paper just like this, and I write CTFAR, okay? And I will write down, I usually start with my feelings, but at that point I had recognized that the circumstance was that my friend's daughter got asked to prom, and that was neutral. Sorry. I had a thought that had something to say about me as a human being, that I wasn't valuable, that I wasn't pretty enough, that nobody noticed me in high school. Okay, so whatever thought I had about that created a feeling, and that feeling was kind of resentment, school, right, or anger that I had to go through that. And so then my actions were that I was snippy and ornery, and that created results in my life that day that I didn't really like, because I don't like being that person. And I don't like thinking those thoughts, because those thoughts are just thoughts. They're not true. I make them true by how I feel and how I act, okay? Is Sarah not valuable? That's not true. She's a very valuable human being. She's beautiful and loved by God and by her family, okay? And for some reason in high school, I made a dance mean something. I made it mean something in high school. I didn't recognize that till this week when that came up, and all of a sudden there was a scar there that I had to work through. Okay? So then I get to say in this model, how do I want to feel? Or how do I want to think? And I can reframe my thoughts about the circumstance. How do I want to think about my husband? How do I want to think about my children? Okay, I've got 5 more minutes. That's quickly the model that I use, and I will write out a new model. I will very much recognize. So Sarah not going to dances in high school was the circumstance, the thought was that I was ugly, a loner, no one liked me. The feeling I had was awful, sad, shame, so much shame. And the action was that I couldn't be happy for my friend and her daughter. And I felt angry and I cried. Oh, hi from Belgium. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Hi. That's weird. Isn't the internet just amazing? It's awesome. And then the results of that would be that I was disconnected from my friend, from her daughter, from those that I love and I want to show up and support. Okay? The name of it's called The Life Coach School, Brooke Castillo, and I will put a screenshot up in my stories today. You can go there, and she has like a packet of how to use the model in your life, and it's really awesome. And she walks you through everything. Okay, so the components of the model: a circumstance is a neutral fact. It's neutral. The thought is a sentence you have in your head about the circumstance, okay? The feeling is a vibration in your body caused by your thought, and your action is what your feelings cause you to do. And then the result is the consequence of your action, okay? All right, I'm gonna answer just a couple of questions really fast. Did I hire a coach to coach me? Not in the beginning. I recently became part of a group that has a coaching that I listen in to a coach other people. So I watch and I can see how it affects other people. So no, I haven't hired one, but I really think it's pretty fascinating to start coaching yourself. And it's awesome. I love it. I am not the same person I was 2 years ago before I found this model. Same with Dave Ramsey and before I found the baby steps. And here's what I think. So much of our money issues are not money issues. I think they are thoughts we have about our circumstances and how we show up in our life because of those feelings and the actions we take. Some of us numb out with shopping. Some of us numb out with avoiding a plan for our money. And it's a lot based upon how we think. Okay. This one's good. How do you handle your kids' disappointed faces when you start saying no to things? Okay. Well, my kids' thoughts and feelings. Oh, one sec. I got to turn off my timer. My kids' thoughts and feelings are about them. My thoughts and feelings are about me. And I can allow my children to have all the thoughts and feelings they have. They're human beings. I can allow my husband to think and feel however he wants to feel. I cannot change him. I cannot change my children. And so when my kids are sad that I'm not buying them something, I can allow them to feel sad because they are feeling sad by their thoughts, not by me. not by my actions. My actions are neutral to them. That's a neutral circumstances. Mom saying, no, you can't have this is a neutral circumstance. But they can feel sad about that. Absolutely, they can feel sad. Okay. Advice for keeping a sense of self with small kids. I wish so bad that I had this model in my life when I had little kids. It would have changed how I showed up for them. I would have spent time resting because you're tired, you're exhausted. I would have spent time using the model to assess how I thought, because I had terrible thoughts in my head when I was a young mom. Thoughts like, if my house is not clean, I'm not a good mom. If the room is I would walk into my children's room or the toy area, and if there were toys everywhere, I would make that mean something about me. And then I would get exhausted, overwhelmed, angry, and my actions would be, I would usually yell at the kids. But if you say walking into the toy room is the neutral circumstances, you would say the neutral circumstances are, there are toys on the floor. That's the facts of the circumstance. Okay? And then the thought I would have would be, I am not a good mom because I can't keep this organized. And then my feeling because of that thought was, shame or guilt, or I'm not doing my job as a mom. And then my actions would usually result in me yelling at the kids or doing it myself in a huff. And then the results of that were that I was distant from my children, and they had an angry mother. I hope that makes sense. I'm trying to use examples to explain. So I would say advice for keeping a sense of self with small kids is rest and do a lot of models to understand what you're thinking and what you're feeling. Because guaranteed you're having lots of thoughts go through your head, and it's hard to be alone and with little children that, they're little children. That stage of life is so hard. And it's hard because I think we make a lot of things mean stuff that should be really neutral. And we make them mean negative things, or we make them mean really positive things. Like if our children walk at a certain age, or if our children are fast learners, we make it mean that we're really good parents. And it's just not the case. It's a neutral circumstance. Okay? Money's issues aren't really the money issues. Yes, they aren't. And I would say even the people that are flaunting their wealth, flaunting how good they are at at being able to make money, I would say there's something to do with how they think in their life about what they are making money mean to them. It means power. It means, I'm a good person. I don't know what it means. I'm not them. I'm just trying to get through my own life. One more question, and then I've got to go pick up. I don't want to be the mom that doesn't pick up their kid at kindergarten. Time management help. I'm just learning this one because I've always been really awful at time management. But I would tell you that time management for me was a sign of my messy mind. It was a sign of these 60,000 thoughts I had going through my head all day long that were like little children running wild in my head. And until I started using the model and understanding what I was thinking, then I could really eliminate thoughts that were negative, that didn't serve me well, and choose intentionally. So now my time management has been a great byproduct of how I think. And I will not put things as important when they're not important. So I'm still, it's a work in progress for me. It's definitely not something I'm good at, but I'm getting there. Anyway, so that's how I coach myself, and I will put a post of, I wish if I had 10,000 followers, I could do the swipe up thing, but I don't have that. So I will do a screenshot of the where you can download this, how to use the model in your daily life. And I do it all the time. I do thought downloads. I have to start learning what I'm thinking, and then I plug those thoughts into the model. Most of the time, I can look at either my results in my life, like not exercising is something, and then I'll have to walk it backwards and say, okay, I'm clearly not taking action. Then what are my thoughts and what are my feelings that are driving this? Because, the circumstances are neutral. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great Friday, and I'm going to try to do maybe another live next Friday talking about my legacy box, because I've had a bunch of questions about that. It's hard for me to do lives in the evening. My evenings are just awesome, full of life and full of activities, and that's how I want it to be. So we'll just do it during the day, and if you can join, you can join. If not, I'll save them for later. Okay? Have a good day, guys.